From rags to riches. A shocking invitation to dance changes a black girl's life forever. At 3 a.m. clock struck 3. A silence lay thick over the sleepy town, but for Tia, that silence was a blank canvas, ready to be filled with magic. She stood at her bedroom window, heart racing, watching the world outside dance in shadows and twilight. Tonight was unlike any other. It felt electric, charged with mystery. Little did she know, it would change everything. Suddenly, a flicker of light pierced through the darkness, strange and glowing. It flickered like a heartbeat, drawing her in. Was it a trick of her tired eyes? An omen from the universe? As she felt her breath quicken, a soft tap came at her window. Tia jumped, her chest tightening. With trembling hands, she cautiously pulled back the curtain, only to find an invitation suspended in the cool night air. It shimmered, glistening like it held secrets waiting to be revealed. No ordinary letter, this one was alive with colors she had never seen before, deep purple swirling with golds, like a dream unfurling in front of her. It promised an adventure, yet warned of dangers lurking in the shadows. A seductive dance, but at a tremendous cost. Tia felt a lump in her throat as she grasped it, one pulse of fear followed by a rush of thrill. Whispers seemed to echo in her ears, murmuring tales of wild nights and hidden places where dreams collided with stark realities. Is this real? She thought, squinting at the glowing invitation. She could almost hear the thunderous heartbeats of those who had come before her, each one embracing their fate under the cover of night. What awaited her on the dance floor? Would it lead to the riches she craved or destruction? Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The night air was thick with uncertainty as she glanced at her reflection in the window. Was she brave enough to take that leap? The glow from the invitation pulsed with intensity, urging her forward with promises of glimmering lights and infectious laughter. Her hand shook as she remembered her past, the weight of every struggle, every rejection, coiling tightly in her chest. This was more than just an invitation. It was everything she had ever wished for, even if it was cloaked in shadows. Driven by a force she couldn't ignore, Tia slipped into a pair of worn sneakers, her heart thumping like a drum. Outside, the world buzzed with anticipation, a host of unseen specters waiting to waltz her into the unknown. As she stepped out into the night, a question hung in the air. Would she return as the girl who had left, or would she emerge transformed, leaving the old world behind forever? The cool night air wrapped around Tia like a whisper of freedom as she stepped off her porch. The darkness beckoned, swirling with soft light and mystery, the kind that made her heart race. As she moved down the street, the shadows stretched before her like eager hands inviting her to partake in the unknown. Every step felt monumental, charged with expectation. She passed by houses shrouded in silence, where dreams still lay dormant behind closed doors. But she was awake, fully alive, striding toward a destiny she could barely comprehend. Her fingers brushed the invitation resting against her chest, its warmth a constant reminder of the choice she had made. In the distance, she noticed a flicker of lights, vivid and pulsating, like a heartbeat of the night itself. They drew her nearer, thrumming with an energy that soothed her fears yet amplified the thrill of the unknown. Was it the place where dreams were made, or shattered? Would she find what she craved, or perhaps be trapped in a dance she could never escape? As she approached, the sounds of laughter cascaded over her, bubbling like champagne. With each note, her heart soared higher, yet a cold tingling slithered up her spine. It was intoxicating, The way the air vibrated with hope and seduction. But Tia recalled the warning buried in the invitation. Danger lurks in the shadows. Just then, a sudden chill whipped through the air. She shuddered, glancing around. Was someone watching her? The laughter seemed to morph, twisting into something darker, as if aware of her presence. She tried to shake off the feeling, pushing forward until she stood at the threshold of an open door, framed by radiant lights. The scene inside was breathtaking. A vast room alive with swirling bodies lost in music. The floor glimmered beneath their feet like a sea of stars, while the scent of perfume and sweat tangled in the air. Tia hesitated, capturing the essence of it all. This was no mere dance. This was a temple of transformation, where fortunes could shift with a single spin. As she stepped inside, a sudden hush fell over the crowd. All eyes turned to her, evaluating, dissecting. A thrill shot through her heart, followed by a notion of dread. Were they disappointed she had arrived? Or were her earlier life experiences written all over her? She could feel their whispers crawl under her skin, 1,000 judgments racing through her mind, mixing with angst and excitement. A figure emerged from the crowd, a tall man in an elegant suit, his eyes gleaming with mischief and something darker. "Welcome," he said, his voice a smooth melody. "Are you ready to dance?" His grin was enticing, yet tinged with an edge she couldn't ignore. Stepping forward felt like a leap into a vortex, a choice to abandon her old self, a choice that could lead to either freedom or disaster. "This is my chance," she whispered to herself, tightening her grip on the invitation. But as the music swelled once more, it whispered something different, an echo of the past shadows she could never outrun. The rhythm drew her in, a cacophony of promise and peril. Sometimes, the fantasies we chase are the very things that ensnare us. Would her spirit fly high or crash down in flames? As she began to dance, a flicker of doubt wormed its way deep within her heart. What had she truly signed up for in the pursuit of her dreams? The dance floor rippled before her, a storm waiting to unfurl, but the night was just beginning. What awaited her in the depths of this whirlwind? Would it solidify her path to riches, or would she find herself tangled in a web of shadows? The music pulsed around Tia, each beat pulsating like a second heartbeat within her chest. She let herself get swept up in the rhythm, spinning and twirling, as if somehow that motion could spin away her doubts. Laughter rang out, and she forced a smile, trying to convince herself she belonged. But the glances from the crowd kept slicing through her confidence, a mix of curiosity and something darker, lurking beneath the surface. The man in the elegant suit continued to watch her, a predator circling his prey. His bright smile contradicted the shadows in his eyes. Under his gaze, Tia felt exposed and vulnerable. Was he a savior or a trap? As the music wove like silk around her, she noticed couples pairing up, their movements seamless, passionate, as if they shared a connection she couldn't decipher. The dance floor was electric, each soul lost in their own world, while she felt like an outsider, a mere spectator in this intoxicating theater of life. Yet, the whispers clamored louder. She doesn't belong. The thoughts clawed at her mind until Tia could barely focus on the rhythm, her energy waning. Why had she come here? Was she chasing something beautiful or stepping into a nightmare? Suddenly, the music ceased. The abrupt silence was deafening. Heads turned again, and she stood there, frozen, heart thrumming impossibly fast. Her skin prickled. A spotlight flickered on, illuminating her, the rest of the world fading into an ominous blur around her. "What is your name, dear?" A sultry voice called from her right. A woman with bright red lips and glimmering earrings leaned closer, intrigue etched on her face. Tia stammered, Tia. Tia, the woman dragged out her name like honey, savoring it. "You must be new here. You dance beautifully. But tell me, do you know what this place offers?" As she spoke, an oddly magnetic tension filled the air. Tia was captivated but cautious. "They dance with their dreams, don't you know? the woman continued, leaning in conspiratorially. Fortunes can shift in this realm, but watch closely, not all that glitters is gold. As she stepped back, a flicker of something sinister crossed her face. Was it jealousy or fear? Tia couldn't tell. In that moment of discomfort, the man in the suit moved in closer, his voice low and intriguing. Think of it, an opportunity to shape your destiny. Dance here long enough, and you could become what you've always dreamed. Beneath that polished exterior, something darker brewed, like thunder brewing in the distance just before a storm. Her heart raced, torn between temptation and the nagging instinct to flee. Could she risk her soul for glamour? What was the price of standing in the spotlight? Would she pay with her dreams or something more precious? Before she could answer, the music kicked back in, and couples began weaving through intricate steps, laughter rising again, drowning the silence. Tia felt unmoored, swept back into the glittering chaos, but the sense of being watched twisted in her stomach. What lies beneath the whispers? A voice echoed faintly in her mind. It brought back memories of her life, a fragile existence, where trust was rare and danger could lurk anywhere. Could she escape this place unscathed? Caught in the flux of emotion, Tia felt compelled to choose to dive deeper into this world or pull back before the shadows could consume her. But as she glanced around, that tall man caught her eye once more, an enigmatic grin spreading across his face. Then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he spun away, disappearing into the throng, leaving her isolated, alone with her thoughts, her determination stifled by the weight of uncertainty. The dance had just begun, but Tia sensed the stakes rising. Would she become just another face in the crowd, or was the night about to unveil the hidden truths of her heart? As a new song took shape, an unease settled into her bones. It sang of choices yet unmade. It whispered of destinies entwined with danger. Tia took a breath, feeling a cold sweat trickle down her back, uncertain of what the whirlwind around her might reveal next. What would the next dance birth? Would it show her the keys to her dreams or open doors she would never want to see? The pulsing music enveloped Tia once again, a seductive force that both enchanted and trapped her. Each beat felt like a heartbeat quickening. The atmosphere thickened with possibility, but lurking beneath it was an undercurrent of danger that dampened her spirit. Shadows danced across the walls, hinting at secrets she couldn't quite grasp. With every whispered word floating around her, she fought to stay grounded. What lies beneath the whispers? Echoed louder now, an internal battle raging between her curiosity and the instinct to turn back. She had come to escape a life filled with mundane choices, but had she stumbled into something worse? A sudden burst of laughter from a nearby couple jolted her. Their joy sliced through her haze, leaving a twinge of envy in its wake. But this time, the laughter felt unwelcoming, taunting her own insecurities. It was as if the crowd fed off her tension, a vibrant tapestry woven with threads of fear and longing. "Dance with me," a voice called out, breaking her reverie. Tia turned to see a young man with tousled hair and a mischievous grin. His eyes sparkled with promise, but they held the same shadows that haunted the man in the suit. She hesitated, her heart pounding as she weighed the invitation. Was this connection real, or was it just another trap? As he approached her, she noticed the edges of his smile sputter under scrutiny. "Don't worry, just a dance," he assured, extending a hand. There was a tension in his posture, like an animal preparing to pounce. The lure of dance beckoned her, and before she could think, she placed her hand in his. He spun her into the crowd, laughter transforming into a whirlwind of movement. Tia found herself pulled into a cascade of colors and sound, her body navigating through figures that seemed to float. At first, joy surged within her. The rhythm ignited something she thought had long been buried. But soon, the music began to shift, morphing into something eerie, the tempo twisting under her feet. The young man tightened his grip, guiding her deeper into the throng. She scanned their surroundings. The glimmering lights flickered, shadows obscured faces, and the vibrant laughter morphed into twisted cackles. Panic gripped her throat, and she glanced up at him, searching for reassurance. "Let it take you," he encouraged softly, though his eyes glinted with a hint of something darker. Just as Tia surrendered to the rhythm, a chilling realization hit her like a wave crashing down. This wasn't just a dance. It was an invitation to lose herself, to give up control. Suddenly, the room spun, and the crowd seemed to blur, warped and unreal. She caught a glimpse of the tall man again, standing at the edge, that same unnaturally bright smile plastered on his face. He watched with a predatory gaze, and Tia's heart raced as her feet moved without her consent, driven by a force greater than her own will. The music shifted again, tempo dipping and rising like a breath catching in an unseen throat. "T!" whispered a chorus of voices, each one sharper, clearer, full of dread. It felt like they reached into her very soul. "What will you sacrifice to join us? What are you willing to lose?" In an instant, the world shifted. The music swelled to a thunderous roar, engulfing her senses as she felt herself spiraling into a dark abyss, flying towards the edge of an unknown destiny. The room began to pulse around her, a heartbeat that resonated with her own, entwining her existence with the dreams of the dance floor. And just as she thought she'd surrender completely, everything stopped. A silence so profound it split her soul echoed through her mind. The eyes of the crowd turned on her, all anticipating her choice, a collective breath held tight. What would Tia choose? Would she dive deeper into the darkness that promised her dreams, or would she draw back, clinging to the remnants of her fragile light? As uncertainty clawed at her insides, she knew one thing: her choice would forever alter the dance that had only just begun. In that charged moment of frozen time, all she could do was stare into the shadows and wonder who would emerge victorious, her heart or the mounting darkness. The silence felt heavy, pressing against Tia's chest like a weight she couldn't shake. She stood there, caught in the gaze of countless eyes, all waiting with bated breath. Beneath the allure of the music, an insistent thrum pulsed through her veins, urging her closer to the brink of surrender. But to what? It was a question that danced dangerously close to the truth she feared. The crowd's anticipation grew palpable. Whispers trickled through the air, growing louder, merging into one echoing question: "What will you give up?" The young man before her watched intently, his grin morphing into something more sinister. It wasn't just a dance anymore. It was a trial of sorts, a test that demanded her very essence. "No," she gasped, the word a mere wisp of sound. Panic surged, clawing up her throat. She realized with clarity that this was not a simple night out. This was a place where dreams and nightmares intertwined, where every soul on the dance floor traded a piece of themselves, hidden in the seductive embrace of the rhythm. Suddenly, the lights dimmed even lower, casting elongated shadows that crept toward her, as if they were sentient beings eager to consume her. The world spun, and she felt the ground beneath her feet give way, pulling her deeper into the grasp of the music. A memory flickered in her mind, a long-buried whisper from her past of choices made and paths lost. How far had she really come, only to be entangled in an even darker web? "Dance with us," the voices chanted, a haunting invitation that both thrilled and terrified her. The urge to comply wrestled with her instinct to flee. Her heart raced in time with the arrhythmic beats, each pulse amplifying the fear inside. "Join us or be left behind," they warned, a chilling ultimatum echoing through her very core. And then she felt it, something more profound than the music, more visceral than the fear. In that inescapable moment, it was as if her body responded before her mind could process the implications. She took a step forward, her feet moving as if they had a mind of their own, drawn by the promise of belonging and liberation. But the moment her foot hit the dance floor, reality struck. A ghostly chill passed through her, and the atmosphere changed, turning electric. The couples around her morphed, their faces twisting into grotesque shapes, revealing the dark truths they hid behind brilliant smiles. Every movement became a simulation of pleasure cloaked in pain. Who were these people really? "Look closer, Tia," a voice called, familiar yet warped. It was her own voice, echoing in her mind. "What do you want?" The question lingered. What did she truly desire? To lose herself completely in the darkness, or to fight against the tides? With that thought, clarity surged within her. Tia stepped back, breaking free from the thralls of the crowd. Alarmed glances shot toward her. The eerie harmony lost its grip. A desperate realization formed. This was a game, a seductive trap. But could she break free? "Do you dare to turn away?" The young man's expression twisted, a warning more than a greeting, as if he was a gatekeeper of secrets she hadn't even begun to fathom. The crowd, as fixation intensified, stares piercing her with pride and fury intertwined. A flash of commotion erupted on the dance floor. Another girl, eyes wide with panic, broke free and stumbled toward Tia. "They can't be trusted," she cried, before disappearing back into a mass of shifting bodies. Tia's breath quickened again. The door, the way out, was right there. But how could she leave when the shadows tasted her fears, when the darkness felt so enticing? She stood at the precipice, not only of the night but of her very identity. As the music began to swell once more, she knew she had to choose, a leap into the darkness, or a fight for the light. And as the echoes of voices faded, one clear thought rang true in her heart. It was now or never. But what awaited her in the light faded into shadow, leaving her to wonder if stepping away would be her salvation or the greatest mistake of her life. The dance was not just for the crowd, but for her very soul. Which choice would she make? The air thickened like a heavy fog, closing in around Tia as she battled the seductive pull of the dance floor. The pulsating beats wrapped around her, each thrum echoing in her chest, reminding her of everything she had ever wanted and everything she had ever lost. She couldn't ignore the darkness swirling around her, the shadows whispering her name, begging her to take another step, to give in fully. Just then, a flash of silver caught her eye on the far side of the room. It shimmered like a beacon through the haze. It was a bracelet, glinting under the dim lights, its intricate designs capturing moments of laughter and warm memories of her childhood. It vanished for a heartbeat before reappearing again, a phantom teasing her, luring her closer. Tia's heart clenched. Could it be a sign? A thread to her past that had followed her into this abyss? "Keep dancing, Tia," the twisted faces chanted, their mouths curling into smiles that felt wrong. "This is where you belong." Each distorted shout twisted into her ears, a discordant harmony that sent chills down her spine. As they closed in, she could feel her own eyes widening, no longer entranced by the rhythm, but aware of the true nature of the beings she was surrounded by. "Don't trust them," the words floated back into her mind, the voice of the girl who had sought her out earlier. Tia turned, searching the crowd for another familiar face, but they were all just masks, devoid of warmth. She took another step back, trying to silence the drumbeat of her heart. "You can do this," she told herself, but even she could hear the tremor in her voice. A moment of silence blanketed the dance floor. It was an odd pause amidst the swirling chaos, as if the universe held its breath. And then the ground beneath her shook. It reverberated like a bass drum, sending a thrill of fear bolting through her. The flooring fractured, splintering deep into the abyss below, and just as suddenly as it began, the rumble died. Tia stumbled back, her heart racing. The shadows flickered, and in that instant, their silhouettes morphed into figures that begged for freedom, yet held her captive. "Be with us," they implored. Tia glanced toward the exit again. It was still there, but the distance felt impossibly far now. Could she leave the life she'd built for herself? The shadows pressed in closer, their intentions now fully unveiled, darkness offering promises of acceptance at a sinister price. Change is difficult, Tia, the young man interjected, his voice dripping with sweet poison. But it's necessary. Why resist when you can transform into something greater? He reached out, fingers brushing against her forearm. The contact sent electric shockwaves radiating through her, igniting a storm of desires and fears within. She hesitated, trapped in the thrill of possibility. But possibility was just an illusion, wasn't it? She tore her gaze away, slamming a fist against her own will. I want to be yours. The words felt foreign, fueled by adrenaline and rage. A ripple ran through the crowd, startled murmurs echoing like waves. Then she saw it again, the bracelet, dancing just out of reach, a lifeline amidst the chaos, a sign she couldn't ignore. Tia felt the shadows grasping at her, trying to pull her back into the fold, but she was no longer willing to go quietly. She rallied the last of her courage and turned toward the exit once more. Suddenly, laughter erupted, loud and mocking. You think you can escape? A voice shrieked from the depths of the crowd, sending ice coursing through Tia's veins. You are already ours. As the darkness pressed closer, clawing at her resolve, Tia's heart raced. Was it foolish to fight? Or was it the only way to claim her freedom? She twisted toward the light, determination igniting in her chest. But just as she made her move, something unforeseen struck her solidly in the back. Tia collapsed onto the dance floor, the weight of uncertainty crashing down upon her. Panic clawed at her throat as shadows began to swirl chaotically, obscuring her vision. Did she have the will to rise? With a single thought echoing through her mind, she realized everything she had fought for, everything she had lost, could yet pivot on this one chaotic moment. Would she dare to fight for the light or plunge further into darkness? As she lay there, the music morphed into a menacing growl, and questions raced through her mind. What would the shadows demand if she fell? Tia gasped, her breath coming in quick, shallow bursts as the relentless shadows swirled around her. She was desperate to find her footing, to push against the darkness that sought to consume her. Panic coursed through her veins like ice, paralyzing her for a moment longer as she lay sprawled on the dance floor, the coolness of the tiles grounding her in this nightmarish reality. Get up! Get up! A voice screamed inside her, the familiar tone mixed with the echo of her own doubts. The shadows danced like vile whispers, wrapping around her limbs, urging her to remain still. Fear held her like an anchor, a weight almost impossible to shake. Tia shook her head, exhorting her body to move, reminding herself of the bracelet's glint, the way it shimmered with a warmth she so desperately craved. It was hope, and hope was worth fighting for. With a determined surge, she pushed against the floor, arms straining to lift her body from the cold grasp of the chaos. Suddenly she stood breathless, yet on her feet. The crowd felt both near and distant. Shadows converged like a hurricane, howling warnings of despair. You are in our world now, they taunted, their voices echoing in an eerie choir that surrounded her. Tia felt the icy grip of their words as they reached out, shadows stretching like distorted fingers trying to grasp hold of her. Her heart thundered in response, wild and defiant. And then, as if summoned by her rising spirit, the bracelet glimmered once more through the haze. It seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat, a living myth beckoning her forward. The chaos of her surroundings began to fade. It was just her and that undeniable shine, a portal to the girl she once was, the moments of laughter and joy that seemed so far away. Come closer, Tia, the shadows whispered sweetly. Join us where you can be truly free. Free? She snapped back, battling the pull of their soothing tones. You're trying to trap me. I want to be part of your darkness. The fire ignited inside her, a fierce resolve igniting like a match struck in utter darkness. As she took another step, the shadows recoiled, hissing in anger. You can't escape your fate, they screamed, frustration crackling in their voices. But Tia remained unmoved, focusing on her breath and the glimmer of hope, pushing through the fear that surged around her like wild riptides. "Brace yourself," someone unknown shouted from behind her. Without warning, a phantasmagoric wave of shadows surged forward. Tia stumbled, her heart lurching at the sight. Would they drag her down if she faltered? In that moment, Tia realized she had a choice: to let the shadows engulf her, or to fight with everything she had to claim what was rightfully hers. She turned her back to the darkness and lunged toward the light, desperation propelling her forward. She could feel the heat of the shadows behind her, gnashing their invisible teeth, but she wouldn't look back. "Keep moving, Tia," she shouted to herself, propelled by an adrenaline high, adrenaline that mixed dangerously with fear. But just as she reached for that shimmering bracelet, her fingers grazing it, she heard the wretched laughter boom through the chaos, shaking her core. "You think you have one?" The voice echoed, thick with malice. "You are only at the beginning of your descent." And just like that, the ground shifted again beneath her feet, cracking further into deep shadows. Tia's heart sank. Had she made a terrible mistake? Did she step into a deeper darkness? Or was this what true freedom felt like? With the sounds of chaos swallowing her, Tia had to fight with every ounce of strength to keep her gaze fixed on the light. As she felt herself sway precariously, caught in a whirlpool between defiance and despair, she couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead in this treacherous dance of shadows. Would she find her way through, or be lost forever in the dark? The ground beneath Tia split open, the crack widening with a deafening roar that almost drowned out the frantic beats of her heart. Plummeting into a void, she felt a mix of fear and adrenaline rush through her body. This wasn't just a stumble. She was falling into the depths of despair. The shadows danced and twisted around her, coiling tighter with every passing second. Whispers became a cacophony, drowning out her hope. "You belong to us now," they hissed, their voices laced with glee. "You will never escape." Tia's mind raced, adrenaline sharpening her focus. "No!" she shouted into the darkness. "I'm not yours." She kicked her legs, pushing herself against the pulling current of despair. As she struggled, the glimmer of her bracelet sparked in her peripheral vision. The light felt like a beacon, a lifeline tossed into the chaos surrounding her. Maybe this was her way out. With renewed determination, Tia reached for it, every muscle in her body straining against the darkness. The glint flickered, urging her on, illuminating the jagged edges of her fear. She grasped the bracelet tightly, a warmth spreading through her fingertips. Instantly, the shadows recoiled, shrieking as their hold on her weakened. Tia felt a surge of energy course through her, like fire igniting within her chest. The bracelet pulsed with power, echoing her heartbeat. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shifted. Rather than sinking further, it solidified, becoming a radiant platform of light rooted in her strength. Tia rose, standing tall and defiant against the shadows that howled around her. "Do you feel that?" she proclaimed, voice booming like thunder in the heavy gloom. "It's the light. I want to be bound by you." And at that moment, she was no longer just a girl lost in shadows. She was a warrior, a beacon against the darkness, fueled by an unyielding spirit that refused to cower. The whispers turned into screams as they tried to retreat, but Tia pressed forward, empowered by the very essence of hope. "Fate?" she spat. "You don't get to decide my story?" As she pushed through the swirling darkness, the energy from the bracelet repositioned her, shaping her path as though she were a sculptor carving her own destiny. Light exploded around her, dissolving the whispered threats into silence. But just as she felt herself breaking free, she caught sight of a figure poised at the edge of her illuminated platform, cloaked in shadows. A face emerged from the darkness, a twisted grin stretched across lips that seemed to bleed shadows into the light. "Did you think you could escape me?" the figure taunted, voice dripping with malice. "I am your past, your fears, your future. You can't outrun what you are." Tia's heart hammered in her chest. There was a familiarity in those words that felt chilling, as if they were tapping into the deepest fears she held silently within. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions threatening to unravel her. The figure stepped closer, and the atmosphere crackled with an intensity that left Tia trembling. "I am the darkness you ignore. The shadow that whispers sweet nothings when you're afraid. I am your true self," it said, its voice smooth like oil, but coated in venom. Tia's mind raced. Could this be a part of her? A reflection of her insecurities? But the ground beneath her shimmered brightly, igniting courage within. If this was part of her, she could confront it. "So be it," she yelled, arms stretched wide, bracelet glowing fiercely. "You may think you know me, but you only know fear. I know strength." As the two entities faced off, Tia felt the weight of the shadows pressing against her. Their grip was threatening but also empowering, an unyielding reminder of what she had overcome. And just when Tia thought she was ready to move forward, the figure lunged, shrouded in darkness, aiming to engulf her once more. With a scream of defiance, Tia stood taller, determined to break the cycle. Would she embrace the shadows that threatened to swallow her whole, or would she shine brighter than ever? The answer loomed as she braced herself. Would the light prevail, or would she be turned back into the darkness forever? The darkness surged forward like a tidal wave, threatening to drag Tia back into despair as cold grip. Panic shot through her veins, screaming an urgent warning as she felt the shadows whirl around her, suffocating and relentless. But the glowing bracelet pulsed at her wrist, each beat resonating with her heart, pulling her back to solid ground. "No!" she shouted again, her voice rising above the chaos. With a surge of defiance, Tia lifted her arms, channeling the warmth of that light and letting it spread through her like wildfire. The shadows screamed in protest, retreating momentarily as Tia stood firm. "Show me what you've got," she bellowed, fear morphing into fierce determination. The figure, cloaked in a shroud of darkness, sneered at her bravado. "You think you can vanquish me? How naive," it hissed, lunging again with a speed that left Tia breathless. In that split second, time slowed. She could feel her pulse quickening, every nerve alive with electricity. Tia's instinct screamed. Sidestepping just in time, she watched as the shadowy form collided with the luminous platform, its scream echoing in the vast emptiness. "Dancing in the light is more than a show, isn't it?" she said, savoring this newfound glimmer of power. She had been dancing with darkness for too long. With every ounce of strength, she focused on the bracelet, the light flaring like a supernova. The shadows shrieked and howled, pulsating around her, desperate to reclaim their hold. "You may be a part of me, but you don't define me," Tia yelled, striking the surface of the radiating platform. Light exploded outward, scattering the shadows into a chaotic frenzy. Tia was no longer afraid. She felt like a gladiator facing an unyielding beast. Her heart raced, her body alive with adrenaline. But beneath it all, buried like an old treasure, was an unsettling realization. "If I defeat you, what will that mean for me?" A moment of doubt crept in. What if confronting the shadow meant she'd lose a part of herself she didn't want to let go? As if reading her thoughts, the figure paused, eyes glinting with mockery. "To erase me is to erase the echoes of your existence. Without me, you're empty. Just a broken light, flickering in the dark." Tia felt the ground tremor. A rift began to form, cracking the radiance of her platform. She staggered back, uncertainty swirling like a storm within her. The shadows grew bolder, snaking toward her, whispering promises of comfort nestled in familiarity. As strong as the power of the bracelet burned, it felt fragile against the daunting shadows of her past. "What if I want to keep my memories?" Tia pleaded, the shadows weaving closer. "What if I embrace you instead?" "You're wise," the figure cooed, the shadows swirling dangerously around her. Embrace me, and we can rule together a perfect harmony between light and dark. Tia shivered. There was a seductive sweetness to the offer, but she knew it was poison wrapped in silk. "No, not like this," she whispered, stepping back. She would not feed the darkness. She would not be a pawn in its game. With a scream of ferocity, she summoned all her courage. "I am more than my fears." As the figure lunged at her again, she clutched the bracelet tighter. "I choose my own path," she cried, and in a blinding flash, she twisted, launching the light further into the abyss, illuminating the space between reality and possibility. The ground shook violently, cracked spider webbing beneath her feet, and in the chaos, she felt the darkness start to fracture. But would the light be enough? The shadows reeled, their cries melding into a tormenting symphony. Tia felt her heart resolve amidst the storm. In that moment of reckoning, could she truly conquer her deepest fears without losing herself in the process? The light flickered uncertainly around her as darkness lurked just beyond the shimmer. She needed to decide now, would she dance with the shadows, or rise above them? What awaited her on the other side of this confrontation? The whirlwind of chaos around Tia began to swirl in a dizzying spin, shadows clashing against the brilliant light she summoned from within. She felt the thrill of defiance surge through her veins, fueling her conviction. This wasn't just about confronting the dark. It was about reclaiming her essence, her power. "Enough!" she roared, her voice rising above the tempest. "You want to take me down?" As she spoke, the light around her intensified, radiant and fierce. With every beat of her heart, Tia visualized her deepest desires, dreams of freedom, hope, and joy colliding with the shadows trying to claim her. The dark figure paused, its face contorting with rage as it realized the light was not just bright. It was tangible and real, a force that possessed the potential to shatter its hold. "Foolish girl," it hissed, lunging towards her again, but this time Tia was ready. She thrust her hand forward, the bracelet shining with divine brilliance, and with it came a dazzling wave of light that swept through the dark, blasting it apart, dissolving fears she had clung to for far too long. As the light surged and danced, she called out to the forgotten parts of herself the laughter, the joy, and the strength she had once held dear. "I will not be defined by fear or shadows. I embrace my entirety." A powerful eruption of warmth enveloped her, as if the universe itself was responding to her declaration. In a split moment, she felt something shift. The shadows recoiled, twisting in pure agony as they were engulfed by the radiance surging from Tia. With every whisper of doubts that faded into echoes, she sensed a transformation brewing not just in her surroundings, but in her core. The figure representing the darkness she battled began to lose its form, unraveling like smoke in the breeze. "You cannot escape your truth," it screamed, but Tia sensed the desperation behind its words. The truth had always been more complex than simply succumbing to black or white. "Maybe not, but I can choose to live beyond it," she shouted back, her voice steady and fierce. The shadows dissipated with a low moan, folding in upon themselves before bursting into shimmering sparkles that rained like stars, lighting up the space around her. Each flicker whispered of memories, the highs and lows, the pain and the laughter, each moment etched into the fabric of her being, forging the soul of who she truly was. As the dust settled, Tia found herself surrounded by a clear, golden light, vibrant and alive. The music faded into a tender hush, and with the shadows all but gone, she felt a calm wash over her. She breathed deeply, heart swelling with exhilaration as clarity emerged from the chaos. Standing there, she felt empowered, renewed. She had fought a battle that many would shy away from, and for the first time, she fully embraced the truth that her past had shaped her, but it wouldn't steal her future. With her hand still clutching the glowing bracelet, she smiled with certainty, knowing she had the strength to carry both her shadows and her light. I wouldn't let anyone determine my worth but me," she proclaimed, her voice ringing like a bell, sound waves rippling through the remnants of the night. She glanced back toward the entrance, where light poured generously from the doorway, a path leading to freedom and everything she had dreamed of. With each step toward the light, Tia felt lighter, released from the burdens fed by fear, guilt, and expectation. As she moved through the threshold, a thrill shot through her body. Dance and joy, possibilities, and hope, she could feel them wrapping around her like a warm embrace, urging her forward. Out in the open air, she stopped to take it all in, the night sky blanketed with stars, each shining brightly above her head. It felt surreal. She was alive, bursting with potential. With one last glance at the shadows that couldn't reach her, she knew it was time to dance without fear, unfettered and alive. She wouldn't just survive. She would wake up to a world filled with opportunities, grateful for every twist and turn. And in her heart, she made a promise to embrace life with its complexities, to share her story, and to help others break through their shadows.